From the art of the deal to keeping it real. Live from the Simply Vegas studios, it's The Power Move with John Gafford.
Back again for another episode of The Power Move. My name is John Gafford. I am your host. With me, as always, to the left is the Bulgarian mongoose, Colt Amidan.
What's going on, guys?
The Polo Assassin.
The Polo Assassin. Wait,
you won't see me.
Wait, back up. The Polo Assassin. Are we talking about green bottle cologne polo? Because I like that connotation.
I mean,
Do I not look like I smell like that, right?
I mean, look, we all had as kids.
the jupe assassin.
Did anybody else have like the tester of polo that like you're trying to squeeze the last drop out of when you were in like sixth grade or something?
I had that blue one. You guys didn't have the blue bottle?
The
green one.
Oh, no, son, I'm old school. They didn't even have blue polo.
I think I'm wearing the same cologne as the first bottle of cologne I've ever bought.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, in case you know who that is the counselor, Chris Connell. How you doing, Chris?
Living the dream.
Jean-Paul
Gaultier.
Chris,
Jean-Paul
Gaultier. Call it Chris One Cologne Connell.
No, I got it was always those knockoff brands. Grandma would get you a 4-pack or something, and it just
like the designer imposter perfume.
The designer imposter perfume is what I would have as a kid. Yeah. So when I smelled it one time, Jean-Paul Gaultier, and I'm like, that.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I wasted an entire Today Show segment one time on that. Because, you know, when I'm doing this interview on the Today Show, and they think that, like, you think it's going to last, like, time is so compressed
3 minutes
on a major television network studio. Time gets compressed. And the guy brings up, he says something about me looking like Vince Vaughn. And I said, yeah, that used to be my move when I was single. I'd be like, I'm like the designer imposter perfume. Like, if you like Vince, you'll love John because John's attainable. You could have me. You got no shot at Vince, but you can have me right now. And that was one of my go-to moves. And yet, literally, before I talked about anything of substance or business or importance, it was over. And I'm like, did I really?
Horseshoe crabs.
Did I really just waste an entire segment on national television?
But is that wasting? I feel like that's not wasting.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Colt. That's a good point.
You know that most perfume now is unisex?
It is. Yeah.
What?
It's all made by the same,
how is it?
Places.
I mean, don't you want to smell like a man? How do you, what?
You know what? Let's talk about that. Do you? Or would you rather just smell like something phenomenal all day? You're smelling it more.
I'm smelling
You're
like
smelling
a man.
it more.
Listen,
I want cigarettes doused in kerosene.
Exactly. No. I want wood chips and biker and biker
Barbasol.
Yeah, I want chain grease. Smell like a damn. I don't know. Smell like a man.
Oh, the man's logos are always the same though. It's always what is Brindle or
I will tell you this, ladies. I'm going to tell you this right now. If you want to know how to get a man, if you don't got a man, I'll tell you a secret. Here it is, because this is how my wife got me, because I never smelled it before, and I haven't smelled it since. When I first met my wife, as beautiful as she is and as cool as she is, what really put it over the top, she wore this perfume called Pink Sugar, and she smelled like cookies. And
it's over.
Listen, you want to talk about combining a few of your favorite things? They say a way to the man's heart is through his stomach. You roll up on me smelling like cookies, I'm interested.
She still wear it?
Does
she still wear that?
Yeah, she does.
She's like Chris.
She does. I buy it for every Christmas because, I want my wife to smell like cookies.
My wife's wedding perfume was discontinued. Hannah Mori, number 7 or something. Yeah. Hannah Mori. And I love it. Like, I like it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's discontinued. So the only way you can get it now is it's like $500 for like a used bottle on eBay.
Yeah.
And I'm that idiot that's like,
I'm buying it. Fuck. I know. Look at you though. That's a nice thing to do though.
No, he's not giving it to his wife. He's keeping it for himself.
I just put it on.
He just snorts it.
He's got it in his car.
Dances around like that guy from Silence of the Lambs. Oh God. Anyway,
good thing we're not talking about sports.
Well, we're not talking about sports.
I'd smell me.
Definitely not talking about sports. But here's what we are talking about. This is our continued series. I hope you're enjoying this, where we kind of talk about, we break down some segments from my future book that is being crafted right now by myself, and we just kind of workshop some stuff here. And today I want to talk about something. I'm going to do a whole chapter on staying centered, because I think this is a major problem with people. I think maintaining a sense of balance in your life is where a lot of people fail. And in this day and age of social media, where the ego is just fed and fed and fed and fed and fed. Feed me, Seymour, all those things. I think it's so important to kind of understand how to stay centered, how to stay grounded, how to stay balanced, how to stay humble, how to do those things. And in some cases, like the job that we have in real estate, it's hard, man, because you got to throw a little flash out there to get some attention. You know, you got to throw the flash, but it's about not taking it seriously. And it's funny because at the same time, right now I'm coaching about, I guess the number is 97 of our agents here.
Is it still
97? Simply Vegas. Yeah, it's about
drop
that.
Off that
there's a little drop off, but yeah, you know, they're hanging around there. But I'm coaching 97 people every day through a private Facebook group. There are agents here at Simply Vegas that wanted me to mentor them, so I just said, yeah, I'll do it because there's so many of them. And I'm just doing it in a very efficient manner. But we were talking about this book, which is Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. And I love Ryan Holiday books, so I'll give you a little close up on that. If you're watching this on YouTube, this book right here is awesome because it's all about that. So I want to kind of talk about my thoughts of that. We're going to blend in a little bit of what Ryan says in Ego is the Enemy and just kind of talk about staying balanced. And this is something that in my life, I've had times where I have had issues with it, where I've let kind of what I do become myself, become my identity. And I think that's a problem that a lot of people have is they start to tie their ego to whatever it is they're doing at the time. And the reality of it is what you do will change many times in your life, probably. Unless, like, you know, counselor here, like, quick question. That's a good question. When you became an attorney, did you think you would get a real estate license because you had a general passion for selling real estate at some point?
Yeah, I actually did.
You did think that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then that's probably a bad example.
Yeah. It's always in the cards.
Way to listen.
Because
Colt's job is to crash the podcast. And no. I don't need two of you.
Crashing it and cookies.
Because I'm an economist.
Okay. Economist of scale.
I'm an economist. Like I think of things in terms of how much, you know, output can I get from how much input.
Yes.
And that was always something where I look at it and I go, I'm going to eventually ramp that up.
Yeah.
That effort. And to this day, I probably should have done that a long time ago because it's been successful for me when I do it.
Yeah.
So, but it's just a matter of prioritizing the things that I'm able to monetize better. I waste 80% of my time doing stuff that I don't get paid the way I'd like to get paid by doing. And then the 20% that provides 98% of my, like, you know, income, you know,
it's from that. It's from stuff you enjoy.
It's from those other things.
Well, for me, like I can think of 2 times specifically when I got crushed emotionally, mentally, whatever you want to say, because I'd become so much of what I was doing. The first example I'll give you is my fraternity in college. When I went to school, I rushed a fraternity my freshman year, and as soon as I got that pin and got that pledge jersey, man, that was it. Nothing else mattered. Yeah. Class didn't matter. Grades didn't matter. Nothing mattered except for that fraternity. And I lived it, ate it. I mean, I breathed that shit. I was all about it. And the problem with fraternities is, or at least it used to be, I don't know anymore. It seems like now it's getting easier and easier and whatever. But back then, I would always say the story was, especially at Florida State, was if you join a sorority, they're going to make you into what they want you to be. If you join a fraternity, they're going to take what you are and amplify it.
Yep. And
apparently what I was at 18 years old was a giant asshole. Apparently that's what I was. And not only that, but I was an easily swayed, manipulated asshole as well. Because if somebody said, you know what we should do? Yes, no matter what that was. And after I became a brother there, the first year I became a brother, I became one of your all-time fucking champion hazers of new pledges, which is something I'm not super proud of.
Get the paddle.
It was just what it was. And unfortunately, one of the pledges that I was kind of, if you will, assigned to terrorize at the time, nobody liked this pledge. He ended up getting blackballed, right? He ended up getting kicked out of the fraternity before he could become a brother because nobody liked this kid.
Right.
This kid was a legacy at this said fraternity. His dad wrote an 11-page letter, I think it was, to SAE Nationals. And my name was on every page.
Oh.
At which point, it was coming down to there's going to be an investigation of the chapter, blah, blah, blah. Florida State got involved. I mean, all the stuff. And it was kind of the writing was on the wall. And they come to me and they say, look, here's what we got to do. It's just simply procedural is what we have to do. It's a procedural event where we have to make it look like, we investigated it. We had like a hearing and it's no big deal. And then, we're just going to sweep it and it'll be done. It'll be fine. Right. So I go to this procedure. I show up at the house. It's like a chapter meeting and everybody's there. And I'm thinking it's going to be a real quick, hey, what happened? Blah, 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 blah. Bro, it was like that scene.
Al Pacino.
No, it was like that scene from A Few Good Men. It was like the Tom Cruise on the stage. You can't handle the truth. It was
take a flamethrower to this place.
It was a straight grilling. And I was just shell shocked. At which point they're like, okay, well, we need to have a vote to expel you. I'm like, what?
Expel from Florida State?
No, not from Florida State, from the fraternity. Yeah. And I'm like, what's going on right now? And anyway, so they did a very quick vote, and then the votes were destroyed very quickly by a handful of leadership at the fraternity. And they told me I was booted out. And dude, it absolutely demolished me because that had become my whole ego was based in this thing, right? Now, moral of the story is, in retrospect, a couple of things. Number one, I do not fault the powers that be at that time that were running the fraternity for trying to save said fraternity by hanging me out to dry. I don't fault them at all. I'm an 18-year-old kid. They're 20-year-old kids. They're about to lose their house. I get it. You know what I mean? I don't fault them at all. The good story, the good part of the story is because the chapter ended up getting canned for a while anyway, they never sent it in to kick me out. And 20 some odd years later, not even that, 30 years later, I guess maybe a couple of years ago, I go meet with a guy, Alex Scroman, that was one of my fraternity brothers. And he said, hey, I'm in Vegas. I got something for you. I said, sure. What do you got? Because I know what it was. I'd reached out to him because I never officially got kicked out, and the whole chapter got burned. I didn't really know what happened, so I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, my son is getting older, and he may go. He's going to go to university soon, and at some point he may want to know, am I a legacy somewhere? I just need to know where I stand with SAE National. Like I need to know where I stand." Mm-hmm. And the dude came rolling into town and brought me my numbered pledge pen and a new shingle, and said, "Never got filed. You're good. You're good." Yeah, so that was cool. So that ended well. But the story was, I had gotten so wrapped up in that one thing, man. It became my ego.
Did you ever think that maybe they were hazing you and as a fake kangaroo court of a fraternity?
Maybe. The whole thing could be a simulation in the Matrix.
Oh, maybe you got Truman'd.
I don't know, dude. It was the whole thing. The whole thing was
what me and Chris were talking about earlier.
the whole thing was terrible. But again, I think in an effort or a desire to belong, I mean, you see people that get, codependent in relationships. Sure. They get all in on something that they lose themselves in a club, in a relationship, in a job. And I think if you do that, I think you've got to really, if you're in some situation right now where you maybe take pause and say, have I lost myself a little bit in this situation? I think before that rug gets pulled out on you, I think you got to take a second and take inventory of that.
I also think you've got to realize people will hang you out to dry in life.
Yeah.
Like I think when you sat there and said, "Oh, it's not a big deal, just come in," but you'll get that in the corporate world. You'll get that by attorneys.
That's why lawyers are here, baby.
Yep.
Every single car adjuster says, "Hey, do you mind if I take a recorded statement of your client?" I go, "Nope."
Yeah.
You're not happening.
Nope.
Not doing it.
Nope. Never. You know
Whenever
why?
It's not a big deal. It's a big deal.
Because first off, when everybody's cute like that, "Oh, do you mind if we do that?" Like,
yeah.
You know what you're doing. Say, "Hey, do you allow for a recorded statement?" It's cute. Like, you know that, but don't be cute about it. Get it over. Because why do you think somebody records you?
Well, because they want evidence.
Do you think
later.
It's for training purposes?
They want evidence later. Yeah,
they want evidence later.
Yeah.
Okay, in case you misstate something, any inconsistencies whatsoever they look for. So just
and all of those things. But again,
to your point, it's people will hang you out to dry, and it's the people that come in a wolf in sheep's clothing, right?
Well, I think part of staying centered and part of staying balanced again is not depending. Like to Colt's point, just don't depend too much on others. Mm-hmm. One of my I say it all the time. One of my favorite quotes from a movie, Hans Gruber, Die Hard. no one is coming to help you. And if more people would just understand that.
That wasn't Hans Gruber.
Yes, it was Hans Gruber.
No,
come out. I won't touch you.
But that's one of the other henchmen. That's one of the brothers.
Is it?
Hans Gruber fell.
Hans said that. He said
Hans's henchman said that.
No,
I won't hurt you.
We have to Google this. No,
wasn't it the blonde German guy with the detonators?
He's talking to him. He says, "Come out." I won't. Hang on, Hans Gruber. I'm telling you. I'm glad at my computer.
Here we go. Live.
Right.
While John's going
right now, I'm hoping somebody's yelling at the radio.
While John's doing that, I want to point out this. Speaking of that, making something your whole identity and having it taken away happened at this golf course. I won't say who it was or which one, but this individual grabbed one of the female staff by the arm, like, "Hey, I was talking to you," or something, right? Kind of got a little too familiar, a little too comfortable at the club all the time, and he got kicked out. And now he's like going to other members like, "Hey, is there any way I can get back in?" Like, and it's like, no. First off, don't touch people.
Right.
Okay. Just first off. Yeah. Yeah. And I know maybe now this was happening in my life. This was happening in my life, whatever. But you can't always assume people are going to, be
okay with stuff.
Be okay with stuff. So
most people are not.
They're not going to be. I wouldn't did that to me. No. It'd be a whole different situation.
We'd have a problem. And I think as an attorney, you probably see that a lot. You see a lot of, it's not a big deal. That wasn't a big deal. No, things are a big deal in life. And especially work or related. You can't touch somebody. You can't be putting hands on. But, can we talk about Die Hard's really not that great of a
look at it. It's
movie.
The scene where he's got the detonators in the backpack and he's the ho now I have a machine gun guy that died. John,
I based my whole life on this.
No, it's not Hans said it. It was one of the brothers.
It's like on Ricky Bobby. He was like, I based my whole life on that quote. I
won't hurt you.
Said it.
While you are looking it up,
it's when
we talked about cookies today.
John will come back after the break.
No.
With an apology.
I'm not going to go down the whole.
With an apology.
I'll give you because I got a good
now because 45 seconds. I got 45 seconds while you look that up.
You go ahead.
When you look at a cookie box and it's like the calories are 360 a cookie, do you go automatically to the largest cookie in there because you think it's 360?
No, I think they're all pretty uniform.
No, I'm telling you. There's some that are bigger than others.
That's a great question, man. That's a great
mentally,
question,
you're like, I'm 360.
I think I probably would if I ever noticed the size discrepancy.
Now you're going to, right?
Yeah.
Well,
from the mind of Colt.
Well, no, but here's the thing. You know that a lot of times the calorie stuff, it's all bullshit. Yeah. They're not well measured. They're not they're estimated. They're, so
always go for the biggest thing, thinking, oh, well,
they're probably basing it on the biggest cookie, Colt, too. So you're probably right.
Oh, my God.
You found it?
Yeah.
John found out he was wrong.
Tony.
The fire has been called off, my friend. No one is coming to help you. You might as well come out and join the others. I promise I won't hurt you. Tony!
Good job, Chris.
Wow. I don't know which one of these is a clap. Is there a clap on here?
Give me my horn.
No, you just get that's the mystery sound. I don't know which one does what. That's amazing. Okay, see, there you go. Living a lie should be the topic of today's podcast there, which is
parent versus actual authority.
Did you watch the making of that movie? It's pretty good.
Of Die Hard? No, I didn't. But back to what we were talking about. Back to
staying centered.
Back to staying centered. I'll tell you another story about my life that was when I learned this lesson, which is whenever I speak, man, and I try to give little points out to the audience and try to help everybody with what it is. I always lead with this one, which is, again, don't become what you do. Stay who you are, because the worst case of me ever doing that was when I was running the Cobalt Lounge in Atlanta, Georgia, which was a very big nightclub, ranked by Esquire magazine, the #1 nightclub on the East Coast at one point. And was a big club. And, man, we had every celebrity on the planet rolling through this place. We had Jermaine Dupri's party every Sunday. It was just a crazy thing. And when that place, because a certain NFL player who shall remain nameless decided to come, and some people wound up dead, and then he wound up in trial for murder in Atlanta, but it nuked that business, nuked it. And ended up going just down like a tank. And so I lost my gig there. And as we went along, about 2 months later after I lost that gig, there was a new club opening up at Midtown. Now, keep in mind, while I was running this joint, there was no place in Atlanta that I could not go, and the seas would not part like as for Moses. There was not a bill that I had to pay, a line I had to wait in, a table I had to wait for, nothing. Everywhere I went, I got the juice everywhere I went. So my buddy's like, oh, this is a new club up in Midtown. We should go. This is cool. So I go down and we're standing in line. And actually, we're not standing in line. We walk up. There's a big long line around the Planet. I'm like, not for me. Yeah. So I go rolling up to the front. There's a guy there that I'd never seen before. I don't know who this person is. And I'm like, hey, man, my name's John. We're at Cobalt, blah, 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 blah. And the guy just looks at me and goes, bro, that club closed like 6 months ago. It wasn't 6 months ago. It was like 3, but he goes, 6 months, like what? Like,
how can I help you?
Like, how can I help you?
You got nothing for me now.
As stupid as that sounds, my ego was completely crushed because it had gotten completely wound up in not being John anymore, but being John from Cobalt John. Like right now, dude, I'm not Simply Vegas John. I'm not Streamline Home Loans John. I'm not Clear Title John.
I'm no longer Griffin Chris.
Yeah, you're not right. Exactly. Right. But I'm just me. Mm-hmm. And my entire ethos and ego is based on who I am. Right. And I think that's so important to what you do.
That's a fine line to draw because you need to be affiliated with what you do, right? Like there's a time where people need to look at you as John and think that's John real estate, right? That's Chris attorney. That so it's a fine line where it's sitting there saying that's who you are.
Yeah.
But also marketing yourself good enough to know, when people see you, they affiliate that with you.
No, it's there. And I think, again, this is where you find this fine line of ego and social media. And this is what it's coming. And look, man, I want to talk about, let's talk about the jet, right? Because the jet, which I'm selling, which hopefully will be closed November 1st. I'm going to take my last trip in the jet as an owner this weekend, which will be good. I have to go to a wedding. But here's the deal with the jet. I always came on and made it very clear that to me, the jet was nothing more than an investment. Yep. That's all it was. That's all it ever was. Now, my partner in the jet used the jet, admittedly, for very different reasons. That was his flex through all of his social media to try to drive eyeballs and attention to his auxiliaries that make money.
Right.
It was a marketing tool for him. But the problem was that worked against me. So I thought I could just get this and be like, oh, it's an investment and this is what we do and this is what makes money and this and that. But the reality was the way that he was flexing so hard with that jet was coming back at me.
Right.
I never was the guy rolling in front of it being like, what's up, everybody? I'm on my jet. I never did that.
I mean, I sometimes was, but
yeah, no, right. Exactly. But I'm saying, and here's the point. There's nothing wrong with him doing that for his audience.
Right. He knows his brand. He knows
for his audience. Yeah, for my audience, that shit was toxic.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Because then I became to my entire community of all of the people that depend on us. Because, being in the real estate business is such a tough deal because when you get too successful, everybody immediately wants to be, well, how much money is he taking from these people? Not understanding that anymore the majority of my income doesn't even come from
real estate
what we do anymore at all. But that was such a hard thing for me because it made it really hard for me to stay grounded with that asset. So sometimes
pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. Hey-o. But the point of it is, here's the point of it. The point of it is sometimes you've got to be careful with the way that you associate.
That's a really good point.
If somebody else is to the moon and you're associated there, all of a sudden it's like you're an asshole too.
That's funny you mention that because I think there's a double edge to that when you say be careful of what the messages of the people you're associated with, but also know what your message is being viewed as.
Yes.
Your own message, right? Like you could be out there. Let's say that would have been great for you and you're out here being humble about it and it's not doing anything. But let's say the message would have been well taken if you would have been out there flexing or whatever, then you should be doing it.
Yeah.
But the inverse is true.
But it's based on the audience.
It's based on your audience. Yeah.
I knew my audience. I knew the audience would repel that.
If there's some austerity in your audience, if there's people that are like, hey, wait a minute, I'm looking for a deep value thing. I don't like planes because they're a waste of money, blah, blah, blah. If people see that, they'll associate it in, for whatever reason.
Well, I think part of that issue is you look at everybody's always talking about leveling up. I want to level up my network, level up my volume, level up this. And you got to remember, if leveling up involves you estranging your entire previous network, it needs to be a ladder you can climb up and down, not one you light on fire and you're trying to get away from the fire.
It's like the Jennifer Garners and Jennifer Anistons of the world.
Yeah.
These actresses.
Relatable.
People want to, because people look at them and go, that's somebody that I can see existing. Yeah. Right.
Walking down the street with your kid in one arm, pushing a shopping cart.
Exactly. So it's relatable. The minute you start going to galas and slapping waiters or whatever, I'm just leveling up here, people.
One day, Connell. We'll be there one day, buddy. We'll be there. But no, you've got to be careful about that, about letting your reputation and your image get dragged down by other people. Now, again, I say dragged down, dragged in a different direction than you need to go to.
So any advice for Joe Biden hanging around with that Hunter Biden guy?
Holy smokes. Did you guys see? Okay,
I got two words for you.
Jesus. Made in America. 2 words for you. Made in America.
I had to give that one to you guys.
Listen.
Can't always be just.
It's getting to the point now. I'm not going to make this political, but bro, it's not funny. It's so.
No, it's not. I told somebody that this morning.
It's sad. I don't laugh anymore.
It's like Andrew Schultz said. He goes, "Say what you want about Trump, but that guy was funny. Like every day. Yeah. Now your text messages, chats are just dead because there's really very little to talk about.
It's just sad, dude. I mean, the guy literally can barely string together a thought or sentence. How are they going to put him on a debate stage against any? My kid could get up there and demolish him in a debate.
I'm all for age limit.
Holy smokes.
I don't think you should be able to take off.
Like the difference between Bush.
I mean, it's like, I feel like it's almost like when you take grandpa and grandma's keys away. I feel like somebody needs to take the button back from Biden here. We need to have a talk.
Trump? He's fucking 80.
I'm not saying he's the guy either.
That's not both. Those were the options as dudes that
I don't think that'll be the options.
They had been members. They've been getting the $1.99 menu at Red Robin for the last 20 years.
I don't think so. What do you want to bet? I'm not saying who's going to be the ticket, but that will not be the tickets.
I hope not.
I don't think that'll be the ticket for either party. There's zero chance that'll be the ticket for either party.
Bad decision for both.
Yeah, they're going to take Grampy's keys away, and one of them might need keys for a cell. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. Who knows?
No. There's so much noise in politics. At the end of the day, this is when you talk about staying centered. Talk about America not having any center. You want to talk about being centered, right?
Yeah.
What's the unifying message in America now? Mm-hmm. You want to talk about having a unified message for yourself. If everybody did that, I think we'd all be better off. If you cleaned up your own backyard first, right? This whole planet would be clean. Sure. But that's something that drags people, I think, to and fro as well, right? Having a lack of a central message, especially in something like your own country.
Yeah.
I know a lot of places are divided. I'm not trying to be overly grand in your sort of theme for the day, but think about not everybody is even remotely on the same side anymore of any issue.
It never will be. It never will, because social media gives everybody an opinion.
Yeah.
And everybody has to have an opinion on everything.
So how hard is it to be centered if if major political parties and billionaires and donors can't find that center?
I agree. And I think here is, from Ryan Holiday's book, this is something I saw that I really liked, which is why. I'm going to let me find the section of what he talked about.
Why you won't see him center. Like, look how extreme everybody is on social media with everything, with their flex, with their whatever.
Here's the good news, though. I don't think everybody's actually that extreme. I don't think most people are very polarized.
I don't either, but they go after that, right? Because what are they going to do? Offend us?
I got it. Ryan Holiday talks about in his book the best way to control your ego, because all of this is really ego-driven. It really is. All of the divisiveness, all of everything, the need to be right, the need to have an opinion, the need to be seen, the need to be recognized. This is probably the number one way if you're wondering how to control ego, and I love this from Ryan. He talks about the best thing you can do to control your ego is become a student.
Yeah.
Because, and I think about this, and this is so true in what we do in real estate, because you have people that have been doing this for 15 years, 10 years, 5 years, whatever it is, that make a really good living, that stop learning anything because they make a ton of money doing this.
Right.
They know everything they need to do about how to do this job.
So they must be good and everything.
And so their ego gets artificially inflated like crazy because they don't learn. Because here's what happens when you start to learn something new. you realize I don't know anything.
As long as you don't suffer from Dunning-Kruger.
Yeah, exactly. But
shout out here to Marty Koshman, a former vice president of ControlX, a company my former family ran, and a very successful development.
We'll give Marty the horn. Here you go.
Here you go, Marty. Marty Koshman.
There you go. Marty gets the horn.
Enjoy that lawsuit against my former mother-in-law. Anyway, it's currently happening. But he said to me one time, this guy Len, and I'm not going to bleep names because they can come find me. Len would always be like, I have 20 years experience in this business, and this is how you do it. I got 20 years experience. And Marty pulls me over. He goes, that guy has at most 1 year of experience. He's just done it 20 times.
20 times, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That guy's never learned a nickel's worth of difference between day 31 and day 3001.
Yeah.
He goes, that guy does not have 20 years experience. When every day is the exact same. If you wore a same black suit and black tie every single day, you don't have 20 years of fashion experience. You know what I'm saying? So that always stuck with me. It's like, are you actually experienced, or are you just doing the same thing over and over?
Well, I think a good barometer for you to know how knowledgeable you are is start teaching somebody else what you know.
Yeah.
Like right now, this process that I'm doing where I've basically committed to 90 days, 75 to 90 days, I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to be, of every single day, I'm churning out, somewhere between a 10 and 20 minute long video for my students every day. And there are days when I'm up till 1 o'clock in the morning studying, learning, reading, trying to figure out exactly what I want to teach them. Because if I'm going to talk about a subject, I'm not just going to go from the knowledge I currently have. Right. I want to make sure I'm giving them the best knowledge I can find and just being consolidating that and let it run through me. So you really want to know what you know? You want to check your ego a little bit? Commit to teaching somebody what you know. And all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, maybe I need to learn a little more about a lot of things.
Yeah, or maybe just because I used to know it doesn't mean I still do.
Yeah, 100% with that too. 100%.
If you want to learn, if you want to be humbled as a student, do a martial art. If you want to be humbled as a student,
I almost made it without sports.
No. That's philosophy. It's life, All
right.
Martial arts, jiu-jitsu especially, right? It's very complicated puzzle solving, right? So when you go in there thinking you're tough or strong or whatever, and somebody half your size, right, who's just wearing a different color belt than you, pretzels you up, and you're physically helpless, that's humbling. That is a wonderful shot.
For the record, I would like to quote our good friend Cam, who said, I was pitched jiu-jitsu as a puzzle-solving, thinking man's game, and instead what I got was a giant, sweaty man laying on me for an hour.
Pretty accurate.
And apparently he said he paid double for it next time. So apparently it was good, whatever it was. So shout out to Cam.
But that is true.
Good for him for coming and being a good sport.
That was it. He did.
Yeah, he let me pretzel him up a little bit.
But I think acknowledging what you don't know, right? Like I heard somebody go, success is transferable. You can transfer it to other stuff if you acknowledge what you don't know.
100%.
So if you go into another industry and sit there and pretend like you know everything in that industry, your success will not transfer over to that industry. And that's why you can go, I mean, John, toot your horn for you, but I know when John and them started opening title companies, first thing he's doing is getting the best title lawyer in the country on the phone. He's getting the best person.
I'm okay. I'm okay at it.
Shout out to Mark Sturbkow. Give him a shout out on that. Oh, it's a mystery thing.
Wrong one. But it's Halloween season, John. I like that.
But I found the best RESPA attorney in the country. That's who I wanted to talk to. Because if I ever have an issue, that's who I want to roll into court for me.
Yeah, of course.
Because he knows all those people. Anyway. But yeah, we've been talking about staying centered with your ego, and I think a lot of it is not letting your ego get you too high. But I think, that's it. We got to talk about the other end of the spectrum, which is letting you get too low.
I feel like,
and here's the
a month ago, I came to that conclusion that I've let my ego get way too low.
Well, here's the thing, though. The same thing that's driving you high when you're high is driving you low when you're low. For example, you look at people that fail at anything. Business, sports, test, whatever it may be, if you fail at something, if you are immediately of the opinion that this could have been me, oh my God, it had to be the world going against me, it will crush you so much lower. If you can take the ego out of it,
because that's expectation.
Yeah, and analyze exactly why things went wrong, you will learn from it and come back stronger, and it doesn't hurt you.
Expectation is the thief of joy.
Yes.
Comparison and expectation are the thieves of joy.
100%.
So when your ego says, no, I can't fail at this, I'm really good at this other thing, right? That's what's dragging you down. It's pure ego. Your ego should be there to pop you up, though, and be like, no, you can do this. You just need to work harder. That's healthy ego.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that last
We did.
I think so. Yeah.
But again, like there's things that you just learn with experience and age. You just get older and understand this. And one of my favorite Stoic philosophies about ego is, for example, a fool, an egotistical fool thinks when someone else harms and insults them, they're harming them. A wise man understands they're harming themselves. Sure. And I look back at, when I was a kid, one of the things that really, I struggle with hard was when I was in, again, I came by this honestly. I'm not going to say I didn't, but maybe somewhat honestly, somewhat not. So when I was in 8th grade, call it, you have that mob mentality with all your buddies, and we're in the locker room one day, and we're all ganging up on this kid, and this kid's name's Chris was this kid's name, and everybody's making fun of him and revving pretty good, and all of a sudden Chris turns around and of the sea of people giving him shit, looks right at me and goes, "Fuck you." Yeah. And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll whoop your ass right now." Yeah. And I was like, "Huh?" And it scared me.
Yeah.
I was like, "Holy shit." Cause this is not like a little dude. This is not like a little wimpy kid. Right. And I was like,
it was the big kid that enough people could pick on.
All of a sudden, it was like, we can all take down the giant, but alone, I am not traveling well. So anyway, dude, I was like, holy shit. So this dude now starts like stalking me. And I'm like, okay. So I ducked him a little bit. Now I ended up making peace with that kid pretty quick, but here's the problem. There was another kid.
Steve Buscemi.
No, another
Billy
kid.
Madison.
No. There was another kid in his name was Chad. That was in our grade that began to think it was funny because of that occurrence. That every time I walked amongst everybody, or before school at lunch, everything else, no, he would start. I smell chicken, bark, 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 and did that relentlessly at me to the point where I was banned. I was exiled, man. I was banished. I would go to school and just go stand right by my homeroom door and didn't want to see anybody. I sat by myself, and it fucked me up, man.
As some kid that got picked on, as a kid that got picked on, I love that story.
Yeah.
That's a great story when it's
it's the opposite,
right?
Yeah.
Because that's one of those things you don't know what those kids are fucking brutal.
Well, I made peace with the Chris kid pretty quick, but the Chad kid did fucking just stay on me. Like, and this was supposed to be one of my friends that just thought this was cute. And dude, I got ostracized for that shit.
It's like Cobra Kai.
It fucked me up.
New Cobra Kai season?
Yeah, no, it did. It mentally screwed with me for a long time. And it's like, you don't know what your actions do. But I wish, I had stoicism then, because I would have realized that this kid probably, who wasn't exactly the most popular guy, this Chad guy,
sure,
he was fringe hanger-oner of the group. That became his ticket.
But then what you have to do at that point is then you got to punch that guy
in the mouth.
Yeah, and honestly, in retrospect, I wish I would have, and I didn't, and I don't know why I didn't.
Shout out
the very next time it happened to me, and somebody called me out and wanted to play that game with me, I did go right at him.
I got a fun story. I had this guy try to pick a fight with me. He had 4 of his friends with him, and I was in the school, and whatever it dissipated. There was a teacher there, break it up, whatever. Right. My dad was of the mentality of, if you ask me to stop, I'm not going to ask why. So we got in the car. Dad was driving me home from school, 9th grade. I said, Dad, stop the car. I saw the guy by himself.
Yeah, stop.
I said, Dad, stop the car. Okay. Just pulls over. I get out. I start running at the kid. I'm like, right fucking now.
Eyes this big.
I got you now.
Yeah,
I got you alone.
1-on-1. Let's go.
I got you alone, tough guy. You have 4 of your friends with you. I got you alone. The guy turns around and starts running away, going, I'm not going to fight you without my friends there. I never heard a peep from that guy again, because at that point, that's when his ego goes, I guarantee you. Because he has to now know what he did. Because if you got all your buddies there, you're not necessarily confronted.
1,000%.
He had no one there to help him.
Yeah.
He had no one psychologically to give him buffer.
As Tony from Die Hard says, no one is coming to help you.
That's it.
As Tony said.
That's when you, especially like if you let your ego go, like, let somebody fuck with me, right? Like, I don't care. It's not really getting to me. Yeah. Sometimes you don't realize that is harming you as an outsider looking in, right? Mm-hmm. If people sit there and watch somebody keep messing with you, they're like, now I can put one over. And that can transfer into work. That can transfer into everything. So sometimes you gotta have a little ego and a little bit of pop in the mouth.
Well, I think. Here's the thing. Now, and again, based on what we do now, even now, there are certain people in the industry that think they like to take shots at me from time to time, which I think is funny. And I used to, 10 years ago, I would engage with it. I get so mad. I'd be like, oh, this fucking guy's talking shit, blah, blah, blah. Now, I just find it comical. It's literally comical.
There's a lot of times you let that stuff fly because it's so stupid. But if someone's trying to really step on you as a business person,
oh sure, then I would.
It's kind of like sometimes
I'd go 48 laws of power on.
No, and that's it, right? Like there's so many times that there was a perfect example. Business guy I knew, he would take lawsuits and make them super publicly about it. And I go, why do you do that? He goes, because I settle all these other ones just because it's easier, even though we're the right way. But I need to instill fear on these idiots so every once in a while I'll take one and I'll make it super public about it.
Yeah. I wonder if I should do that. Just really start blowing some out of proportion.
Yeah,
just every once in a while.
Just every once in a while, just make an example.
Just a note, right?
It's like that Christopher Walken speech when, the lion, he lays there, the jackals are nipping at him. And every now and again, he's got to get up and tear the shit out of everybody to remind him he's the lion. You know what I mean?
That's
and the terrible Christopher Walken imitation. But no, but that's kind of how it is. But I'm telling you, that's why I love this book and I love checking your ego and really being smart about it, because for me, and again, you talk about the reason that stuff brushes off my shoulder most of the time and I could care less and I laugh about it is because since I got my ego in check, since I really kind of put it in the rear view to what it is and understand don't get too high, don't get too low, just take things for how it is. Man, my life has progressed in so many ways because there's things that I do now that I would not have done 10 years ago. I would never have asked anybody for help. I would have never said, hey, you know how to do something? I don't know, teach me.
Sure. Because
my ego was like, man, well, they probably think I should already know how to do that. You know what I mean?
Oh,
it was 100%. Yeah. It was ego driven. You look at the mastermind groups that I go to, which, okay, can I say something else real quick about masterminds? Holy shit, I got to say this. Every other day I open my damn email now and it says, there's the mastermind. It's so-and-so for realtors about this. Okay. That's a fucking meeting. Yeah. All right. There's a meetup. It is a seminar. Yeah. A mastermind by definition is when you go to an event and you get to work with other like-minded people to solve problems where you are helping them. They are helping you. There is an open back and forth discussion. That is a mastermind.
And they all know what they're doing.
If you go and sit in an audience and if you watch somebody talk from a stage, that's a seminar. Yeah. Right. Sorry, that's a pet peeve.
That's true.
Get the damn words right. It drives me crazy. But some of the actual masterminds I go to, these are high-level people. And when you see these high-level people, just check their ego at the door and like, oh, my God, how do you do that?
How hard was it for the first time we walked into that furry convention? We've been both talking about.
Right. Yeah, it was a challenge. Yeah, well, let's face it. When's the last time they've seen 2 6'5" pandas walking in a room? It's been a while.
I didn't know what that was until like 6 months ago.
Yes, you did.
No, I really did.
Yes, you did.
I really did.
I didn't know what it was.
Insert panda mating joke.
Let's see if let's say how to say it. There has to be at least one panda
joke
mating.
No, I really didn't until I saw somebody sent me like a funny meme, and I'm like, "What is?" I didn't.
Hey, live your life.
Whatever.
Live your best life. But
I like how you didn't respond.
I'm going to read the first one. I'm going to literally read the first one I found.
Too bad.
You said 2 6'5" pandas. I was like, there's a joke in here somewhere.
No, it says a horse, a panda, and a duck walk into a bar. The bartender looks up and says, what is this, some kind of a joke? That's it. Never mind. That was it.
Not too many panda jokes.
Not too many panda jokes. They don't make them.
Dad,
see, look, there's an idea for a hustle. You got to, if you can become the panda joke king. There's a lot of room in that space. Apparently, a lot of space there to make things happen. Well, guys, if you enjoyed today's podcast and you like talking about that, I mean, look, self-analyzation is always better. I always one of my famous lines that I did say on The Apprentice was, you need to stop pointing the finger and start pulling the thumb. I promise you a lot of your issues about high, low, where you are, probably starting right within yourself. Dude, if you have trouble for something, ask for help. If you want to learn something, open a book. Constantly strive to get better. We're all on this path together, man. We're trying to get better every day. Where you run into a problem is where you stop trying to get better.
You know, all this information that's free too.
Oh, God, it's everywhere.
Think how many
Do you
free
watch
podcasts
TV shows anymore? Like, I throw on documentaries of business people. I don't even watch.
I never really did. Like, somebody was saying, "Oh, you know that episode of Friends?" I'm like, I don't
watch.
Yeah, not my thing.
I don't know. I honestly didn't. I would watch a lot of stuff that I'm interested in, but it's, you know, typically more long form or podcasts and business or whatever. That Ryan Holiday podcast is wonderful.
Yeah.
Daily Stoic is lovely.
You know what I'm telling you though? Because on the treadmill, when I'm on the treadmill, I watch a series. I look for business lessons in Narcos Mexico. I'm like,
you and Colt.
See,
you're learning a lot from Colt. The student has become
you can't trust anybody. It's what you got to. You got to take them out before they take you out. I mean,
that kind of stuff. I'm telling you, not on a level, right? But it is so fucking true in business.
Yeah,
I mean, what's the one about the Today Show that's not the Today Show? Morning Show, right?
Yeah.
You watch how he does something bad, they all just, bam, nope, you're not taking my paycheck. And that's why I tell you, like, your fraternity thing, perfect example. When you think that everybody's going to go down with you,
they're not.
Look at, if all three of us got in trouble, you know, everybody's going to be like, hey, no reason for all three of us.
I'm the attorney. So
yeah.
Oh, I've learned to be able to.
Yeah, sorry, Colt. He's the first one in the lifeboat. Not you.
Guess what? 48 laws of power, John. I've been studying this for 6 years. I got all my black.
So with that, on that note, we will see you next week for the Power Move with Colt Amidan. Does a hostile takeover of the said podcast.
I'm the captain
now.
I'm the captain.
Look at me. I am the captain now. All right, guys.
Cookie out there.
If you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a like, share. If you're listening to us on your podcast device, give us 4 stars. Make sure you click that you want to get notified when a new podcast comes up. Subscribe, do all that stuff. Anyway, thank you guys so much. If you're going to move, keep moving forward. See you next week. Hey, it's John Gafford. If you want to catch up more and see what we're doing, you can always go to thejohngafford.com, where we'll share any links things we talked about on the show, as well as links to the YouTube where you can watch us live. And if you want to catch up with me on Instagram, you can always follow me at thejohngafford. I'm here. Give me a shout.